Modern Family's Gloria Delgado-Pritchett gives the second wife character a voice and a soul. When it comes to women we love to hate, the second wife is usually near the top of the list. In most film and TV, she's a caricature, often an opportunistic or airheaded gold digger used to signal her husband's midlife crisis, as seen through the judgmental eyes of his ex or older kids. But Gloria reimagines the trope.
Gloria the trophy wife, Jay the guy on his, second marriage, and yet, this is a vibrant, loving relationship.
While on the surface, she checks off many boxes of the second wife cartoon,
you don't expect to wake up one morning with a new mom who looks like she fell off a mud flap.
As the show progresses, we realize that Jay and Gloria are incredibly compatible and in love.
The important thing is you make him happy, which you do in so many ways.
And Gloria is an irreplaceable part of the show's central Modern Family with so many gifts, a brave openness that the Pritchetts need, and a one-of-a-kind personality that's hilarious to watch.
When you're married to me, you're going to get yelled at many times. You're tough enough to take it.
Here's our take on how Gloria Pritchett tore up the second wife playbook, showed us all those caricatures aren't real, and gave us hope that sometimes you really can get it right the second time around. At the beginning of Modern Family, there's a lot of dancing around the idea that the family views Gloria as a gold digger.
He said you were a coal digger.
Okay, I think we can move on.
That's what my mom told me.
Or that they're dismissive of her as not particularly deep or intelligent.
Gloria, I don't know why you think I don't like you.
Well, sometimes when you see me, you make that face.
What face?
Like this.
But as we get to know her, it quickly becomes clear there's really no basis for these implied slights. They're projecting our culture's cartoonish idea of the second wife onto her. Someone beautiful, not particularly smart, educated, deep, or nice, someone much younger than her husband, and sometimes even his kids, and always the butt of the joke.
Pretty soon you're gonna be north of 40, and I'm gonna have to trade you in for a newer model. Am I right, buddy?
It's my mother, Jay.
So where do all the fears and assumptions about second wives come from?
Second wives. It's like they have a playbook.
The very existence of a second wife means something has to have happened to put the first wife out of the picture. And there's something inherently unsettling for a kid about the idea of a woman taking over from your mother, thus disrupting the sanctity of the original family. So in plenty of movies and shows, the second wife or stepmom has been portrayed negatively, sometimes as a villain. See Cinderella's wicked stepmother, a second wife who causes misery by abusing the first wife's child, or the Parent Trap scheming Meredith, an almost second wife who wants to send the kids away from their father.
The day we get married is the day I ship those brats off to Switzerland. Get the picture?
Meanwhile, women instinctively feel a fear of replacement in society where men are implicitly encouraged to seek new, younger female partners. In Agnes Varda's Le Bonheur, or Happiness, after a man tries to convince his wife that his taking a lover is a good thing for their family, she kills herself, and he eerily welcomes the lover into their home as essentially a replacement. This tension is at the core of why Jay's first wife, Dee Dee, can't help hating Gloria, even when she tries to listen to her better instincts.
I forgive you.
I am not prepared for this. I want to rip your...
What?
It's not an unfair stereotype that the second wife in pop culture is often younger.
She's my age. Did she tell you that?
Actually, a 2014 analysis of the census undertaken by the Pew Research Center showed that 1 in 5 men who remarry go for a second wife at least 10 years their junior.
Being young and beautiful is not a crime, you know.
This shows the Gloria and Jay dynamic is realistic, and if we listen to what Dee Dee says, we can easily imagine why it would feel so terrible to watch your husband move on with someone like Gloria.
Jay moves on so easily, and not with just anyone. With a young and smart and beautiful woman.
It's also hard for Claire, a daddy's girl, to accept that Gloria is younger than her and attracts so much attention from men, including, in brief moments, Claire's own husband.
Is she moving in slow motion, or is my brain doing that?
A second wife like Gloria embodies a youthfulness that the first wife has surpassed and can never get back. But it's also more than that. The second wife might be portrayed as cooler and edgier too, making her a harsh reminder of something bold and contemporary the often more domestic first wife might feel is out of reach to her. The first wife might also be cast as a complaining, bitter shrew, while the second wife without any of the baggage gets to be framed as a beacon of hope.
God, I can't wait to meet my second wife. I hope she likes me better than this one.
In Mad Men, Megan Draper is the quintessential example of how the second wife offers this exciting spiritual appeal.
I feel like myself when I'm with you. But the way I always wanted to feel.
While Don's first wife Betty is firmly entrenched in the style and decorum of the 1950s, with her white picket fence, nipped-in waist, and perfectly coiffed hair, Megan looks like a 1960s free-loving flower child in bright colors and stylish clothes with sharp angles. She's a visual representation of Don leaving behind his old-fashioned, perfect domestic life and wife for more modern pastures.
Bought you the latest Beatles album. Start with this one.
Similarly, in Modern Family, Gloria is a fun and bold Colombian who's lived an eventful, interesting life and brings a different set of experiences and gifts than Dee Dee to the family. So these differences make her more existentially threatening to Dee Dee. Another key stereotype is that the second wife is a bimbo, not smart or with solely vapid interests like money and shopping. She might be assumed to be lazy or taking a shortcut, marrying a richer older man to get an instant comfortable life instead of working to build it herself and unfairly reaping the rewards of the first wife's labors. But the truth is, most second wives don't have it easy.
From the beginning, I feel like Manny and I are not welcome in this family.
By the time you're the second wife, it's likely that both you and your husband have some baggage in the form of existing children, ex-partners, or alimony payments. And emotionally, a second wife may have to work a lot harder to cultivate a positive environment in her complicated family situation. Like Gloria, she probably has to integrate into a fully formed adult family that might be primed to dislike her while starting her own. Often in films and shows, if the first wife is deceased, as is often the case in older narratives such as Rebecca, Jane Eyre, and The Second Wife, the idea of the first wife might haunt the marriage, as if no woman can ever live up to her.
You'll never replace her. You can't replace her.
If she's alive, she's frequently shown to be a little imbalanced or resentful, intent on meddling in her husband's second marriage.
If you call her, you're giving her exactly what she wanted. The thrill of having poisoned us from 50 miles away.
Much like Dee Dee, such an example of the crazy first wife that even her own kids can't really stand her. Also disproving the taking it easy stereotype, Gloria's life up to this point hasn't been glamorous.
Do you know what a doll is in my village? An apple on a fork.
Which is part of what makes her so charming and relatable. Gloria's backstory proves she isn't a gold digger. Jay is her second husband, and her first husband didn't support her at all. Her feckless ex put in minimal effort with Manny, so for a long time she worked incredibly hard to support him on her own, with street smarts we still occasionally glimpse.
I used to drive a taxi at night. Manny would sleep in the seat next to me.
Adjusting to a blended family isn't, at first, easy for anyone. However, since Gloria wants her relationship with Jay to work out, she's determined to build a bond with Claire and the others. This situation, of older kids disliking their dad's new wife, is one that repeats across pop culture depictions, but it rarely has a successful resolution. That's what makes Modern Family unusual. It grapples with why the family might want to judge and dismiss Gloria, but ultimately shows that they shouldn't.
You are going to tell me what is wrong, and I'm gonna give you the right answer because I have all of them. And I know that you're strong enough to win. And definitely strong enough to be okay if you lose.
So, how does Gloria do it? Here are her new rules for the second wife playbook. Voice your emotions. Susie Brown, the founder of Midlife Divorce Recovery, says that despite second marriages being more common today, there can still be a social stigma around being the second wife. It could be worth talking about that. When Gloria opens up to Claire about being seen as the hot mom at school, Claire immediately realizes that Gloria isn't this perfect, invulnerable woman Claire imagines her to be. She's human, with worries and pain.
You think I don't know what they're thinking? Here comes the hot one with the big boobies that is gonna steal my husband.
It can be fun to view the other Pritchetts through Gloria's eyes. Because she's such an open person, she's baffled by their strange ways of handling situations, how they bottle their emotions and allow toxic behaviors to repeat time after time. Fellow Pritchett spouse Phil might talk privately or under his breath about his gripes with the family, but he's not outspoken. And when he does call Claire or others out, it's often because he's pushed into an outburst of bottled up feeling.
Your family has always treated me like a child who can't make his own decisions.
Gloria, on the other hand, regularly calls the family out on their behavior, sharing how she feels or how she can see others feel with a tone that's not nasty or loaded because she's not holding things in until they explode.
You can't sit on your feelings, you will explode. I have like 10 little explosions every day, so I don't have the big one.
In this way, she brings a lot of love and openness to the group and teaches them basic emotional communication skills. It's her who reveals that Jay really loves Phil, for example, after years of Phil resenting their dynamic and feeling that he's not good enough for Jay.
Since when do you care what I think?
Always. He thinks that you're the life of the party. He wants to be more like you.
Much like an informal therapist, Gloria helps the Pritchetts bring a little more self-reflection and intentionality to their relationships. We're shown that Jay has been repeating the same toxic masculine mistakes of his own dad.
I gave you twice as much as my father ever gave me. The man kissed me one time in my entire life.
And Gloria forces him to consciously reevaluate his behavior with his children.
When was the last time you kissed Mitch?
What does that have to do with anything?
I was 12.
Jay, he's your son. He's a mess.
She recognizes that her husband is far from perfect and pinpoints the issues that he has created for his kids and empowers them to speak out about it.
Gloria is right, Dad. You being so emotionally closed off makes it very difficult for your children to show affection.
Through these actions, Gloria brings out a sensitive, flexible side of Jay that it's implied his children haven't even seen before. The partners are shown to be equals. They're both quite fiery and can fight each other, but always make up, and that security stems from knowing that you can always express whatever you feel, and the other person will still love you after.
That's what I love about our marriage. We can say whatever we want, but the next day we're still there.
Take up space. When they're in a situation where they know they're being scrutinized, many people try hard to be easygoing and affable. Gloria doesn't obsess over what others think because she's too busy being herself, and we and her family love her for that.
What are you looking for?
Nothing. I am making a lot of noise because I'm angry.
Sometimes new family members might feel displaced by you, and while that's something to explore together, their complaints or battles with you might not even be rational. A lot of the time, we see this in Gloria's relationship with Claire, who struggles with how Gloria makes her feel inadequate.
Your thunder is your thunder and my thunder is my thunder.
I know, it's just that God gave you so much thunder.
But that doesn't mean Gloria can fix this by trying to bury her own light. Set the agenda. While she may appear unpredictable or impulsive in her emotions, Gloria is in control at home. She runs a tight ship, and both Manny and Jay defer to her.
You're just tiny little man to me right now, and you need to leave this house and come back with more respect and a pizza.
She's also extremely brave, and this shows in the way she moves through life.
Are people going to like me? Can I handle the challenge? You can ask these questions forever, or you can just take the first step.
No, you're not a cliche, and you married for love. Sure, Gloria seems relieved to lead a comfortable lifestyle after all she's been through, but Jay's appeal to Gloria isn't that he's a rich guy. It's that he's reliable and wants to take care of her and Manny, something she's never experienced before.
If I wanted to be married to a wild man, I would have stayed with Javier.
Gloria also needs a guy with Jay's temperament, calm, dependable, and considered, because she can be impulsive.
I like that you're calm, that you think first and you act second. I need that in my life.
Gloria and Jay are shown to be in love, and while he enjoys her looks and she enjoys his money, this is far from the primary basis for their attraction and deeper compatibility.
You're so much more than how you look. These have been the best 10 years of my life. I'm in it for every pound, every wrinkle, every gray hair.
Both Gloria and Jay are aware of how their marriage might look from the outside, but they're so secure in their relationship that they joke about the cliches others see them as.
You're too funny. I'm gonna share that one with my next husband when we're spending all your money.
Stay away from second wife syndrome. In an article entitled 9 Challenges of Being the Second Wife, relationships writer Rachel Pace discusses second wife syndrome. She says that second wife syndrome can involve feeling that your partner puts his previous family first, feeling insecure, comparing yourself to the ex, needing to control your partner, and feeling as if you don't belong. Gloria banishes second wife syndrome by getting friendly with Jay's kids and grandkids, talking about her insecurities, and forging a completely different life to the one Jay had with Dee Dee.
I hope you're hiring a nanny, because this one won't lift a finger.
But now it's different. Now I can help you with everything.
Another side of second wife syndrome involves having issues with the first wife, which is definitely part of Gloria's initial experience in the Pritchett family through no fault of her own. At first, Dee Dee is furious at Gloria's very existence, as it throws her into a personal crisis, and she laughs at the pair of them when she finds out they're having a baby.
Oh, you're going to be a father again at your age. And here you were thinking you would just sail off into the sunset with your beautiful young wife.
But actually, the birth of Joe, though unplanned, takes Jay and Gloria to a new place in their relationship and shows exactly that Jay wasn't just in it for Gloria's beauty and youth. He wanted the whole package. Surprisingly, this even softens Dee Dee's feelings towards Gloria.
Turns out Gloria being pregnant somehow made Dee Dee think of her as less trophy, more human.
Except a non-traditional relationship.
Family is family. Whether it's the one you start out with, the one that you end up with, or the family that you gain along the way.
Part of being the second wife involves accepting a relationship or family that looks a little different to the picture-perfect imagination many might start out with. But Gloria accepts that and reinforces the beauty in it, which in turn spreads out to the rest of the family. While it's regularly implied that the non-biological mother can't or won't love her stepkids,
I won't have you coming near my daughter. You don't have to get hysterical about it. What do I care about your daughter? I'm sick of hearing about her.
often this is unfair and untrue. Gloria enters Jay's kids' lives when they're adults and they aren't looking to her to mother them, but she does try to bond with them. And just as her positive presence softens Jay, she influences him to have a better relationship with his children, especially Mitchell, who didn't have a great time with his father as he was growing up. While Dee Dee deliberately sows unrest between her children and their dad to get back at him, Gloria encourages them to build the relationships up and contributes to a blended family that may be messy but is full of real love.
She's got this killer confidence. You know, the kind of confidence that you get from having a family like this. A family that actually loves each other.
Own your gifts. Gloria isn't trying at all to fill a hole left by Dee Dee. She knows she offers different strengths, and anyway, this is a different moment in the family's lives, calling for its own set of solutions. We see something similar in Stepmom, the story of a soon-to-be second wife being initially rejected by her partner's kids and their mom, the first wife, because her attempts never measure up.
Oh my gosh, she made you a lunch?
But in the end, like Gloria, Isabel really wants to be close to her stepkids, and due to her different age and strengths, she can offer them different gifts than their mom does, which add a lot to the family's lives.
It worked, it worked, it worked, it worked, it worked, it worked. Did you see the look on Brad's face? Thank you so much.
One of Gloria's gifts is that she's way less judgmental than Jay.
You don't get to tell everyone how to live their lives. That boys cannot spend time with their mommies, or that brothers and sisters can't make babies.
And helps him to consider new possibilities, something his kids didn't think was possible. When Jay shows his homophobic tendencies towards Mitchell,
he doesn't get gay weddings.
Gloria is quick to reprimand him.
Pretty nice, huh? Like a regular wedding.
Good start, Jay.
And unlike with pretty much everyone else in his life, Jay actually listens to her. And Gloria's positivity inspires Jay to want to be better for her.
Jay is very spontaneous. He's always surprising me with little presents, fun getaways.
I wasn't the greatest husband the first time around, but I'm trying to do better this time.
Despite joking about it, Jay genuinely sees his relationship with Gloria, the way she makes him behave and how she makes him feel, as a second shot at doing marriage and life well. Even if he's not exactly young, he feels his life is ahead of him.
Felt like my life was ending. And now you're telling me that I get to have a new start. The woman of my dreams.
And he's learning what it means to support the person he loves. In season 6, we see Gloria get upset when Manny and Jay laugh at her mistranslations.
For once, it would be nice to speak to someone in my own language, in my own home.
Like many second wives and immigrants, Gloria gets tired of constantly being underestimated and seeing her intellect wrongly diminished. But in the last episode, we see exactly how far Jay has come when he reveals he's learning Spanish.
I got a big surprise for Gloria in the works. I'm learning Spanish.
One of the most important and special things he could possibly do for her.
Sorpresa, mi amor.
You're wonderful.
Tell your story. Part of the reason the second wife is so maligned is that she rarely gets her own narrative, which is why it's so groundbreaking that Gloria is such a fully formed and appealing character, with a past and a perspective of her own. It's easy to understand why people fear, resent, and feel jealous of many second wives. It's wonderful for Jay and Gloria to get this second chance, but it can be hard for the first wife and sometimes children to see that happening and not wonder why they didn't get to be with this amazing husband and father. That's especially true because most first wives re-enter a dating market that's heavily biased in favor of young women. Films like The First Wives Club and The Women put an important spotlight on first wives, affirming their value as smart, savvy, and a big loss to their husbands.
We help them rise. We can help them fall.
But still, that message doesn't have to be at the expense of turning another woman into a cardboard antagonist. And ultimately, Modern Family underlines that Dee Dee's projecting a lot of baggage that's not really about Gloria herself.
Gloria didn't steal me, Dee Dee, and you know it. We grew apart for years, and you left to find yourself, remember?
It's important to see this picture from both or all the women's perspective. Gloria Delgado-Pritchett is the representation of a second wife we never knew we needed. A strong, capable woman who works hard at her relationship and can handle a complicated blended family with ease. She shows us that sometimes the best things come the second time around.
Alex, the middle child of the Dunphy household on Modern Family, in many ways seemed like the perfect daughter. She was incredibly smart, followed the rules, and always kept her mind focused on her grades above all else.
She's like a self-cleaning oven.
And while Alex was very proud of her intelligence, being constantly trapped in the smart girl box started to wear on her over the seasons, until it broke her completely.
There is a 16-year-old science prodigy studying cancer research at Johns Hopkins. 16! What am I doing? I'm eating cake!
No.
Alex's story provides both a look at how awesome it can be to be the smartest one in the room and the immense pressure that can bring.
I've spent my entire life trying to be perfect, and where did it get me? I am in a field with 6,000 idiots!
Let's unpack Alex's life as the smart girl, what actually caused her problems, and how she overcame them, plus the real reason she and Haley were always fighting. Here's our take. Alex is a stereotypical smart girl in many ways. She's an incredibly book-smart overachiever who sees herself as above others because of her brain power.
It's not easy being the smart ones in this family.
Don't compare us! Your last English paper came back with a Garfield sticker on it that said, "Way to go!"
In addition to her intense dedication to learning and her quest for perfect grades, she's also in every extracurricular that might look good on her university applications, from lacrosse to debate team to French club.
Alex had a poem published in Highlights magazine when she was 5 years old.
It was called Mr. Lamb Buys a Ham, but really it was about the Holocaust.
She even chose to play cello over violin because she knew that it would be more likely to get her a spot on a university orchestra. And even though she admits she doesn't even enjoy playing, she refuses to just give it up because she hates quitting things. While she may lack social skills, Alex is very confident in her own brilliance. She's not just smarter than her siblings, she's brainier than the adults around her too.
It's pronounced Ibiza, not Ibiza.
Oh, thanks, honey. That reminds me, this weekend I want to see that baby panda at the zoo.
Yeah, I'm the idiot.
This often leads her to treat everyone around her as less than, looking down her nose at them because they aren't smart in the same way as her. Sometimes this comes out in harmless things like playing pranks on her siblings or shooting a quip back at an unsuspecting adult family member, but sometimes she can be pretty unnecessarily mean.
How impressed are you with your uncle right now?
So impressed. I didn't want to ruin their moment by telling them how many awards I've gotten, but let's just say I don't get out of bed for a trophy that size.
This is obviously partly for humor on the show, but it does also help showcase one of Alex's biggest problems. She often lashes out because she feels like she doesn't fit in. She doesn't really have any friends, outside of her small group of nerdy fans at least, and usually feels ignored at school. While her older sister Haley is a social butterfly, Alex has a difficult time connecting with her peers.
Shouldn't she be playing words with friends? Grandpa is my friend. Oh, of course he is. That's not sad. What?
She's so laser focused on her grades and making sure she's absorbing all of the knowledge she can that she doesn't really make time for interpersonal connections, though she gets some help with that over the years, which we'll discuss in a bit. Even at home, she's the odd duck out.
How did she get so smart?
I've always assumed adoption or baby switch.
Because she's so self-sufficient, her parents often leave her to her own devices. But sometimes this extends to the degree that they kind of forget that she's still a kid. She often feels like she's having to pick up the slack and parent herself. Whenever her family is reminded of this, they're usually exasperated instead of regretful. Okay, so maybe Alex's attitude doesn't help.
I'd like to point out I completed all my assignments on my own and on time.
Not now, Alex.
And this pressure, both from others and from herself, really starts to get to Alex after a while. Like with her choice of cello over violin, Alex pretty much always makes choices based on what she thinks a perfect smart girl should do, without really factoring her own feelings. She puts an intense amount of pressure on herself to do the right things, get the right grades, be the right kind of person.
How are you already doing homework?
It's junior year. I have to get good grades. Don't you know how competitive it is out there? Stop pressuring me!
As she ages, the stress of her schoolwork and preparing for university and, being a teenager all begin to compound to an unhealthy degree. Because she seems to be doing so well compared to Haley and Luke, this mostly goes unignored.
Once you start overachieving, people expect things from you.
Until, that is, Alex finally snaps. On her 16th birthday, Alex has finally reached her limit and blows up during her birthday party.
Whoa, you're being a little...
Obstreperous? Recalcitrant? Truculent?
I was gonna say cray-cray.
At first, her family thinks she's just being her regular, intense self, but they quickly come to realize that something is really wrong. Alex, having to support herself even in the midst of a breakdown, books herself in to speak with a therapist. At first, Alex keeps up her smart girl, I can handle everything on my own wall.
Part of me feels like the limbic system in my brain's a bit off. That's a thing, right? I did some research.
You know I charge the same even if you diagnose yourself.
But eventually, she's finally able to open up about how much pressure she's been under, and we get a look inside Alex's mind at just how much she's been trying to juggle all by herself.
I have to get new index cards before Monday. Hopefully they don't run out of the blue ones, because for some reason those help me study better. Maybe my prescription's getting worse. I should probably make an appointment with the eye doctor. Also, should I get a job this summer? Would an internship look better on my application?
Hearing her own stream of consciousness out loud really helps her to realize just how much her mind is always racing. While she's proud of her smarts, she's also come to feel like it's the only thing about her that really matters. So that's why she's always so concerned with proving that she's the smartest.
Is that what you feel? A responsibility to win all the time, to always be the best?
That's one way to put it.
But Alex isn't the only one that has this realization. While Alex is in therapy, her mother Claire attends the open house at Alex's school and comes to understand just how much Alex has been doing. Claire had been so focused on helping her other two, less self-sufficient kids and her husband sort out their lives that she never really took the time to pay attention to what was going on with Alex. She always seemed fine and like she had everything under control, and so Claire never really questioned it. But the truth was, Alex was dealing with a lot.
Well, I only give 2 hours of homework a night.
2 hours?
Our students are highly advanced. It's nothing they can't handle.
They have 2 hours in this class, and they have an hour for AP Bio.
It takes actually experiencing everything for herself for Claire to really start to grasp what Alex's life was really like, and allows them to have a new, deeper level of understanding between them.
I had no idea the kind of pressure you're under. Honey, I was just you for 2 hours. I could barely hold it together. I don't know how you don't have a meltdown every day.
While it took a walk in her shoes for Claire to get Alex, there's someone else who was surprisingly always on her side. To say that Alex and Haley don't get along might be a bit of an understatement.
Hey, let's try to get along.
I wish she was never even born. They were trying to make one with a brain. No.
The sisters are complete opposites in pretty much every way. Haley is an outgoing extrovert, obsessed with clothes and boys, everything Alex abhors. They're constantly sniping at one another on the show about everything.
All you had to do to get in your college was like their Facebook page, but this is Princeton, and you could be a bit more supportive.
You're right. I'm sorry. Your outfit's perfect.
Thanks.
If you're applying to lumberjack school.
While Alex has always been jealous that Haley got more attention, both from their parents and from people at large, Haley was jealous that Alex always seemed to be able to do everything right. Their family also often pits their skills against the other, making fun of Alex for not being as cool as Haley, and Haley for not being as bright as Alex. This does lead to them being at each other's throats a lot of the time, but their deep sisterly bond means they're always looking out for one another.
If you were in trouble, I would do anything for you. We're not just sisters. We're best friends.
Each sister is able to use her special abilities that the other lacks to try to set her on the right course. As the big sister, Haley is especially prone to finding ways to help Alex through the tougher parts of life. She knows that Alex struggles with her social skills, and so tries to use her secretly pretty deep emotional intelligence to push her down the right path, even if it's with some tough love.
Give your stupid speech, be an outcast, but you're only doing it to yourself because you're smart and pretty and sort of funny in a way that I don't really get, but other people seem to enjoy.
Haley gives Alex tips on things like how to be cool and flirt with boys, though this doesn't always go quite to plan.
I would like for you to kiss me.
But Haley never gives up on Alex and is so proud when she hits any emotional milestone.
I got this. Who's this? Brilliant. No, I didn't see it. I get a lot of texts. I have a sister.
And as annoying as she might find Haley, Alex shows up for her when it counts too. When Haley shares that she's pregnant and terrified that she won't be a good mom, Alex could have kicked her while she was down, but she realized how important it was to comfort her in that moment and found the right words to say.
Horrible mother! Okay, first, it's just a doll. And you've been taking care of us our whole lives. And you're understanding and loving and a total badass.
Even though they don't often, really ever, see eye to eye, they both help one another grow and feel like they can survive in the world. They show how important it is to have people around you that aren't just like you, who can see problems from a different perspective and help you come up with new solutions that you never would have thought up on your own. Even when everyone else in the family may have been disappointed in them, or forgot about them, or underestimated them, they were always there for each other.
Don't dork up our room.
Don't slut up your college.
As Alex reached the end of high school, she was hit with another terrifying realization. Just being a perfect student isn't always enough to get what you want. After putting in so much work for years, molding her entire life around what she thought would make her the ideal applicant, she didn't get into Harvard.
Get straight A's for 10 years, spend your summers building houses, drag your cello to school every day, write the perfect essay, and for what?
But instead of letting this break her, she begins to open herself up to the idea that there is more to life than just school, though that's not an easy road. Her entire sense of self has been wrapped up in being the straight A overachiever. That when it was finally time to graduate college and move on to the next phase of her life, she was genuinely afraid. She even tried to bail on her own graduation because she didn't want to have to accept this scary future full of unknowns.
But your whole life, you've always known exactly what you're supposed to do. Study, get good grades, repeat. Now that's over and it's scary.
But with the reassurance of her siblings, she finds the courage to take that big leap into the next phase of her life. She starts exploring different facets of herself, from her rebellious streak to her feminine side. And even though she didn't get into Harvard, she does get into a different great school. And while her time at Caltech certainly has its own stressful moments,
I spent 4 years there in sweats with greasy hair, caring only about grades. The only time anyone ever noticed me was when I pulled out all my eyebrows during finals week.
she continues to excel academically while also cultivating other aspects of her life as well, and eventually goes on to do research in Antarctica.
I want to use science to improve the world, like I did in Antarctica.
Back off, you disgusting snow chicken!
Old Alex doesn't disappear, like when she's nasty to her boyfriend for being too dumb. But in the later seasons, she's clearly grown from her experiences and gained confidence in herself. She uses her overachieving and dedicated nature to carve out a life she actually enjoys. Alex is a perfect example of how modern smart girls are breaking free from the cliches of the perfect girls they're told they're supposed to be and learning to do things their own way.
Don't stop believing. Get this party started.
We start laughing at Phil Dunphy's parenting in episode 1 of Modern Family. He tells us,
I'm the cool dad. That's my thing. I'm hip.
And it's funny because right away we know that Phil isn't cool in the traditional sense of the word. It's reinforced over and over again that he's incredibly nerdy, with slightly weird interests and goofy tendencies. And yet over 11 seasons, we come to agree with him. He might not be a cool guy, but he is a cool dad.
Fact. I am the cool dad.
He's a new, better revamp of the bumbling dad trope, and in the years since Modern Family ended, we can see this cool dad legacy expanding through new iterations. So here are Phil Dunphy's 7 lessons on how to ace parenting by making it fun, gentle, and packed with philosophy.
Philosophy, a hardbound collection of all the life lessons I've learned.
Hear us out. Phil's uncoolness is actually cool. No, we don't specifically mean the cheerleading or the magic, but the fact that he's maintained such varied interests long into adulthood is an important part of his parenting persona. Hollywood is packed wall to wall with bumbling dad characters, guys who sit back and crack open a beer and let their wife do all the childcare, or sometimes take care of them too.
Let's get some beer in you and then it's right to bed. Woohoo! Beer, bed.
That's not Phil. He pursues his interests from tech to tightrope walking. And that gives his kids really important lessons on not giving up, on finding joy in everyday things, and being brave.
All week long, I've been telling my girls how to act instead of showing them. But not Phil. Instead of talking the talk, Phil walked the walk.
From cartoon characters like Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin to sitcom favorites like Ross Geller, the bumbling dad is traditionally a punchline. Though in more dramatic looks like Tully, the useless video game addicted father represents something sinister about how we let postpartum women down.
I wouldn't ever expect her to drive drunk like that, or leave the house without telling me so no one's watching the kids.
But weren't you home?
Yeah.
Phil might seem to be bumbling on the surface, take his attempt at smooth-talking Claire when they're role-playing, and accidentally insulting her.
She's so very beautiful. Why are you here with me?
Because she's always so tired and she's always making lists of things for me to do.
Maybe if you did them, she wouldn't be so tired.
But there's something very important that sets him apart from other bumbling dads on screen: his presence. Phil is always physically around, for Claire and for the kids. And he's mentally present. He connects with all three of his children on their level. He takes time out of whatever it is he's doing to make sure his kids are comfortable.
Always keep the rhythm in your feet. Then we're gonna add just a little party in the shoulders, all right? Now let's get those arms going.
This dad who plays has been taken further as an archetype since Phil in examples like Bluey's dad, Bandit. He's the modern kids show update to what Phil showed us. The most important thing kids really want from their parents is simple but hard: to be there and make fun moments. Phil and Claire have a classic good cop, bad cop dynamic, and Phil gets the easy ride. He's the fun parent.
Hey guys, guess who's taking you go-karting today?
Hey. Why? Are we in trouble?
But part of his character arc is that he comes to accept that he has the easy ride.
I don't like being you.
Oh. Nobody does.
He doesn't have to change into a disciplinarian, but he does need to balance fun with setting boundaries. And being the fun parent doesn't mean he shirks being serious when he has to be. In Phil's case, he's forthcoming with important advice for his kids, and he's unafraid to share his raw emotions too.
You have value, talent, and potential that their tests can't measure. Who cares if you don't fit into their little box? You're finding your way. That's what your 20s are for. To take chances, to make mistakes and to learn from them.
This puts Phil in a different category to many other on-screen dads. In movies from The Little Mermaid to Meet the Parents, fathers are shown to flex their authority and treat their daughters particularly like pure virginal princesses. They'll act terrifyingly to protect their little girls.
But frankly, sir, I'm a little terrified of being your son-in-law.
But Phil acknowledges that his children are human, capable of making mistakes and their own decisions too. Phil does step up to protect his children too, but in a warmer, more emotionally open way. One of Phil's most spectacular parenting moments is when Haley is trying to get a rise out of both of her parents with a gross older guy. Claire's parenting playbook is passed down from her dad, and that means she calls her kids bluff.
Trust me, the more it bothers you, the longer he stays. The more we ignore it, the sooner Willie Nelson's on the road again.
But Phil isn't like Jay. He's much more sensitive, and he needs his children to know he loves and supports them.
Nice game of chicken, Claire. She's gone.
She is coming back, I am almost positive.
Actually, that's a super important thing for kids to know. Often, when they're trying to push their parents' buttons, children are looking for the security of boundaries. We see this at the end of the scene. Claire's right. Haley does come back. But Phil doesn't know and is livid that his gut instinct to protect his child has been overridden.
Give me the ticket for the car.
Phil?
No, I'm going after her. This little chicken game may work for your dad, but it doesn't work for me. That's my little girl.
What's this?
Just enjoy it.
So, what makes him a great dad is this combination of fun, boundaries, and an openness that provides his children a sense of respect. It's played as a joke, but Phil describes his style of parenting as peerenting.
Act like a parent, talk like a peer. I call it parenting.
Actually, according to psychologists, this is a great strategy. Speaking to your child as though they're an equal builds their self-esteem and their trust in you, which in turn means they're more likely to let you guide them. And many of Phil's parenting strategies appear on UNICEF's list of ways to talk to your teen. He communicates with his kids through what's interesting to them. So, for example, he finds out Alex is unhappy at college.
Sometimes I feel like I just went through the 4 best years of my life, only I forgot to make them the 4 best years of my life.
He taps into her competitive nature and fierce intellect and makes her take on a trivia challenge with him. And he listens to and validates their emotions.
I know it hurts now, sweetheart, but that's how you know it was a relationship worth having.
Thanks, Dad.
Phil gives great advice. He loves to impart his wisdom to his kids, like when he gives Haley a hardbound book of lessons when she goes off to college.
If you get pulled over for speeding, tell the policeman your spouse has diarrhea. Philosophy.
And even though it can sound silly, his thoughtful nature means he often creates really special moments and lessons for all 3 of his children.
Dad, I really like that book. I love you guys.
Still, he definitely isn't perfect. One example is when he becomes visibly flustered when he finds out Haley lost her virginity. When he's talking to the camera about it, he plays out how he'd like it to have gone, and acknowledges that he didn't live up to his own standards.
I can't say that I'm thrilled to hear this, but I'm sure you're being safe, and I hope that you'll feel free to talk to me about this anytime.
Importantly, though, he reflects on how he handled the situation and learns from it. It's a really important scene for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it shows us that even great parents make mistakes.
Fact. I blew it.
And secondly, because we get to see how Haley perceived the situation. Instead of giving her the speech he wishes he did, he asks her to go grab a table for them in the food court.
Do you want the counter or a booth?
Whatever seems right to you. I trust you.
And actually, his response is just what she needed.
I have a cool dad.
Sometimes, Phil seems almost absurdly sunny-natured. It's particularly stark in relation to Claire's more negative outlook.
No, Phil, I can't. I am tired and I am sweaty. And as much as I have tried to stay positive like you all day, I think sometimes we need to just face certain facts.
But as well as being uplifting to watch, Phil's optimism is actually a really important part of how he parents. Sociologist Christine Carter writes that there's a close link between how optimistically kids think and how healthy and happy they are. And she goes on to say that one of the best ways we can foster optimism in our children is to model it ourselves.
Remember, keep a positive attitude and good things will happen.
By the end of the show's run, the Dunphy family have gone from the traditional working dad and stay-at-home mom setup to Claire being the breadwinner, and Phil taking more of a backseat financially. And this is another way he's a great dad and partner. He's not worried about being emasculated. Unlike a lot of on-screen dads, he isn't aloof or hands-off. He genuinely loves his family and wants to be as involved with them as possible. This means he is happy to take on more of a role at home when Claire wants to go back to her career. But he also does a lot of care work when he has a full-time job, too.
Nice try. You're grounded for 2 weeks.
He's unfazed by gender stereotypes and is the more emotionally intuitive side of the partnership. He loves to buy Claire thoughtful gifts, for example, and masks his frustration when she buys him total flop gifts.
You're so sweet and nice, and I can't even give you a decent anniversary present.
Accepting that they don't fit gender norms shows their kids that they don't have to have typical relationships either. That the most important thing, when it comes to family, friends, and life, is finding joy.
Your dad is the nicest, most positive person I know, and he always helps me find the fun in life.
In many ways, Phil was a new kind of TV dad. He wasn't macho or controlling, absent, or a complete buffoon. On the contrary, he was always there. He was supportive, kind, and generous. He never failed to put his family first. And on top of it all, he was really, really nerdy. And all of these genuine, fairly uncool traits are what made him cool.
Did Modern Family fail Haley? For most of the show's run, the oldest Dunphy daughter was pigeonholed as the pretty, dumb, popular character. But did the show let her down by not letting her be more?
Ew.
In fact, is Haley even really dumb? She's often compared to her sister Alex, who's a genius. But Haley is actually really good at a lot of things, even if those things aren't necessarily valued as much as her sister's academic intelligence. Haley's lack of textbook smarts is often played for laughs.
I
wish she was never even born! They were trying to make one with a brain!
But it didn't have to be that way. There was an opportunity to use Haley to explore and celebrate the elements of intelligence that society often devalues. Her social savvy, her growth and learning as a romantic partner, even her smarts as a mother. Instead, we got disappointing character development that felt more like a circle than an arc.
Oh, grow up, Haley.
Sadly, she can't. Such is the plight of the Peter Pan personality.
Here's our take on how Modern Family failed Haley.
You made me feel bad about myself, and I deserve better than that, okay?
Sarah Hyland's Haley is the archetypical pretty, fun, and not too bright character, and that's how she's seen by her whole family. Her sister, Alex, often plays up her own intelligence by belittling her siblings.
Can I remind you, you have one child who's not mediocre?
And even their parents, Claire and Phil, openly call Haley dumb.
Who's our dumbest kid? Haley.
But even though the characters around her rarely acknowledge it, there are moments that reveal Haley is actually very astute.
I needed to stay sharp because they were obviously up to something.
More than anyone else in the Dunphy family, she's socially gifted. She is great at reading people and always knows how to tell them what they want to hear or how to push their buttons and manipulate them.
You guys spend all this time worrying about what I'm going to do, and maybe you should start thinking about what you're going to do.
And while she sometimes uses this power for personal gain, she also uses it to help the people she loves. In season 2, Haley overhears Alex's planned valedictorian speech and knows it won't go over well at graduation.
I was obsessed with good grades instead of looks, popularity, and skinny jeans.
What? Is that your speech?
Get out of here!
You cannot say that!
She uses the social intelligence that her book-smart sister lacks in order to subtly convince Alex to change her speech. Instead of making a logical argument, she appeals to Alex emotionally. She sees that it's the popular kids, like her, who Alex is railing against, so she makes herself vulnerable and flatters her unpopular sister.
Give your stupid speech, be an outcast, but you're only doing it to yourself because you're smart and pretty and sort of funny in a way that I don't really get.
This is a pattern throughout the series. Alex might be the smart one when it comes to academics, but she regularly relies on Haley's social smarts to get through life outside of the classroom.
I know you would never admit it, but you're scared. It's not the worst thing to have your own personal cheerleader.
And Haley can often get the better of Alex by tapping into an emotional side of things that Alex doesn't really get.
If you were in trouble, I would do anything for you. We're not just sisters. We're best friends.
But no one ever gives Haley credit for her social intelligence. Even through the final season of the show, Haley is still represented as a pretty dumb character. The writers don't let her grow beyond that stereotype. The strange thing is that this is despite some false starts, where Haley shows more potential, but then her resulting character growth is stunted or outright ignored. At several points, she's shown to be savvy, with a talent for business. But this part of her personality doesn't get developed into sustained storylines. There are multiple times over the 11 seasons where Haley appears to have a talent or seems on track to achieve something.
It's a blog that I've been doing. I'm gonna take a business class next semester, which I'm hoping will help me turn all of this into becoming a stylist.
There's her burgeoning fashion career, her idea for a promo business, or her interest in photography.
Someone just bought your photo of this beautiful lady. First one sold.
Someone paid for something that I made! Me!
But none of Haley's professional dreams ever come to fruition, nor do we see an arc that really explains why not. These ventures simply fade into the background and we never hear about them again after a few episodes. By dropping those storylines, the show misses an opportunity to showcase the many different paths to career fulfillment. Or it could have explored more deeply why Haley doesn't channel a sustained drive. If Haley's insecurities from how her family views her and the way she's been pigeonholed are the underlying reasons her excitement about new projects doesn't endure. Instead, the show isn't meaningfully interested in this aspect of her and seems to just take it for granted that Haley's personality won't really lead to any kind of achievement.
Even someone as dumb as me can see that I'm a giant failure.
It implies that Alex's route of going to college and studying hard is the only way to get the career you want. Because Haley's got more social skills than traditional intelligence, her story arcs rarely get to be about professional success or trials. Instead, they're usually built around her romantic life. Another way Modern Family failed Haley was arguably by having her end up with Dylan.
We're like magnets.
that sometimes take a break to date other magnets.
Although fans loved the chaotic nature of Haley's relationship with her original love interest, she had so many other boyfriends who were a better fit. Dylan was always obsessive about Haley, and their connection was more physical.
I just wanna do you.
But in her relationship with Andy, for example, the two grew to like each other and got to know each other on an emotional level before getting together.
I mean, I care about him. He makes me laugh. I like spending time with him.
Andy appreciated Haley in a way that no other guy had before. Unlike most other people in her life, he recognized that she was smart and also that she needed to hear that.
I did it. I got the job.
Never doubted you.
Their relationship was a slow burn, and it addressed a lot of things that Haley's coupling with Dylan didn't. It helped her know herself better and wasn't based in insecurities.
I like the me I am when I'm with you.
Their genuine, honest connection made their relationship a fan favorite. And the only reason their love story ended when it did was because Adam Devine left the show due to scheduling issues.
You guys love each other. You're making a huge mistake!
Fans had little love for some of Haley's other love interests after Andy, and they may not have been the one, but even those relationships let her grow in ways she never could have with Dylan. Her relationship with an older weatherman named Rainer Shine brought her a lot of maturity.
I guess I just really like this guy, and I want to be able to show him I can fit into the more complicated parts of his life.
And dating Alex's professor, Arvin, helped her learn to stand up for herself and feel more secure in her intelligence.
Haley, where are you going?
Oh, I was offered a fellowship to the bathroom, and I'm accepting it.
So after her seasons of soul-searching and finding a newfound maturity through her romantic life, it felt like a step backwards to send Haley back to Dylan. She'd done so much growing, both personally and professionally, since they'd last dated. And while Dylan was a sweet person who'd also grown in some ways, Haley deserved a different conclusion to her story that reflected how far she'd come since season 1. Instead, the final 2 seasons flattened out all her development and brought her right back to where she started.
I have to get to work, to a job that I love, which I don't even know if I can do with a baby.
Haley got less screen time than usual in the final season, and she abandoned her professional ambitions once again after an unexpected pregnancy. And Haley's final story arc wasn't just a bit of a letdown for the fans. Actress Sarah Hyland, who plays Haley, voiced her frustrations about the final season to Cosmopolitan magazine. She said she wished her character had been able to own her badassery in the fashion world, becoming a badass stylist or brand mogul or anything like that. There are so many amazing mothers who are also hard workers and excel at their jobs and kill it every day in both aspects. So it wasn't just the fact that Haley's pregnancy came out of nowhere, it was also that her final story arc got in the way of what could have been. The pregnancy could have been an opportunity to let Haley show off her personal and professional growth. Instead, at first, the writers regressed Haley further and even set it up to look like she was going to fail at parenthood.
I'm gonna raise a couple losers just like me.
Eventually, Haley does get to demonstrate growth and maturity in her approach to parenting. When she discovers that she's pregnant, she thoughtfully interrogates what motherhood means, what she might have to give up as a result of it, and how she might cope with it.
Oh my God, I have to get to work, to a job that I love, which I don't even know if I can do with a baby.
And when the babies arrive, she comes into her own even more. She overcomes her insecurities about being ready for motherhood, reasonable insecurities after a lifetime of being told she wasn't good at anything.
Maybe I'm just not meant to be a mom.
And ultimately, it makes sense that someone who's always been socially and emotionally intelligent is going to really excel at being a parent. But those wins came at the cost of a finale that truly celebrated and devoted screen time to Haley's smarts and growth across 11 seasons. In the end, the airheaded, beautiful woman finally proving herself by being a good mother is, well, a bit cliched, and fans wanted more for Haley.
Poppy George, Mommy's coming!
Those sure look like mom instincts to me. You're a natural.
Haley's endpoint might not be the most satisfying of the Modern Family character stories, but her arc still has its merits. There is something poetic about the way she ends up with Dylan after both of them have gone through a lot of change and developed hugely as people. And despite the cliched feel of her accidental pregnancy plot, it was nice to see some positive representation of millennial parenthood, something that's rarely explored on network television.
You know, I read on a mommy blog that bad parenting is a direct link to future criminality and DJing.
Haley channels the young, hip aspects of her personality into motherhood. She reads up on the latest parenting strategies and even brings new ideas to the show's other mothers, Claire and Gloria. And she reminds us that moms are still human.
Mama's done breastfeeding. These babies are all mine again, and I'm ready to fill them up with wine.
Ultimately, that's the best thing about Haley. She tells it like it is, and that's just so much fun to watch. So even if the show didn't get everything right, it gave us a character we can enjoy and appreciate on rewatching. Haley teaches us that you don't have to be the most traditionally smart or successful one to have a really great time and be a valuable person, which is a lesson worth living by.
From the outside, Modern Family's Claire Dunphy is a traditional housewife.
Call me old-fashioned, but I wanted to focus on raising a family.
But underneath her pretty blonde, holding everyone together exterior, there's a woman who's also a sort of husband. Though life has dealt Claire the cards that initially keep her at home with her 3 kids, she actually doesn't fit the stereotypical housewife mold.
The girls never had a chance to see the other side of me. You know, powerful woman in charge.
Yeah, because we never get to see her tough side.
She often performs her mothering role out of a sense of duty rather than an obvious maternal instinct, and she is far less emotional than her breadwinner husband, Phil. Claire also feels like the more dominant personality in her marriage, but despite their tendencies towards less gender-scripted roles—
Hey, remember the day I proposed to you?
Of course I do. I don't remember the exact date, but yes.
March 19th, 1994.
in early seasons, neither one of the Dunphy parents is able to explore their natural skill sets. So as Claire goes back to work, in many ways, the Dunphys' journey over the show's run is towards a more utopian ideal of the family, where everyone is able to play to their strengths instead of remaining boxed in by prescriptive and restrictive roles. Here's our take on Claire Dunphy, the model for the husband wife.
Phil, honey, we'll do Valentine's Day later, okay?
In order to understand Claire's psychology, we need to understand the traditional husband role a little more. Historically, the husband was the head of the household, and the role came with almost absolute power over finance, property, and members of his family, including his wife, who ordinarily didn't work.
I'm a housewife.
Multiple factors ranging from feminism to recessions mean that the roles of men and women at home and in the workplace have increasingly diversified. But for Claire, there's a personal reason she's gravitated toward more traditionally male attitudes and behaviors from an early age. She had an extremely strained and competitive relationship with her mother, who provided Claire with no support growing up.
My mom never went to any of my stuff, I'm fine, because she was an incredibly competitive woman who didn't like to see me do very well at anything.
So she turned to her father, Jay, for guidance. As a result, Claire emulates Jay's behaviors in a lot of circumstances, including the way she connects with other people. This is important because Jay is a very typical of his era patriarch, and Claire has inadvertently learned many of his rules on how to interact with family.
Dad, you being so emotionally closed off makes it very difficult for your children to show affection.
She spends much of the show's run attempting to make up for and even unlearn these behaviors, but still, she's much less emotionally motivated than Phil. While Phil performs much of the family's emotional labor, doing traditionally feminine jobs such as remembering anniversaries and planning out beautiful gifts,
It's the actual porch swing where we had our first kiss.
Claire regularly forgets their anniversary, messes up presents, or neglects the more sentimental side of things.
You're so sweet and nice, and I can't even give you a decent anniversary present.
Though she lacks many feminine emotional tropes, there is one stereotypically female trait that Claire seems to embody. Early in the show's run, many fans commented on the fact that Claire was a nag. Phil managed to insinuate it in an early Valentine's episode where the two are role-playing different characters.
She's always so tired, and she's always making lists of things for me to do.
Maybe if you did them, she wouldn't be so tired.
Oh no, she can make lists for days.
But the attributes that these people dislike in her, such as her brusqueness and perfectionism, are actually key aspects of Jay's character, ones which he isn't derided for. As Alex says in season 3, when Claire runs for council and is referred to as unlikable,
That's just the word men use for powerful women because they feel threatened. So just forget everything else and be proud and powerful.
Meanwhile, Phil takes on a more gentle and emotional aspect of parenting, reframing the typical TV dad-husband role. In traditional TV families, the man is often cast as more aloof than his wife, taking a more formal relationship with the children because he doesn't know them as well, as he's out at work all day. In these typical portrayals, it's the wife's job to provide the children with affection and support, as well as facilitate their social lives and help with schoolwork. The father and husband's role is often framed as primarily financial, while the mother's infinitely more emotional role is priceless, and therefore not financially rewarded. But in the Dunphy house, Phil provides a lot of emotional support.
I know it hurts now, sweetheart, but that's how you know it was a relationship worth having.
Thanks, Dad.
And it's actually Claire's determination and shrewd business mind that keeps the household running smoothly in early seasons.
We have 6 hours totally kid-free on, the 14th.
Hey, if we moved Alex's flight, we could have like 10 or 12 hours.
Dream bigger, hot pants. Step aside.
Because Claire is shown to derive a lot of value from work and financial compensation, in early seasons, she often seems to wonder what it would have been like if she could have stayed in the workforce rather than becoming a stay-at-home mom. In season 1, we meet her former colleague, Valerie, who now has Claire's former dream job.
The thought of Valerie getting the one job in the whole company that everyone coveted, well, I wasn't a lover of that.
And we see that, in the face of this successful woman, Claire feels the need to justify her choice to stay at home with the kids, despite it being a common path for a mom in the 90s, and still for many now to have taken. We also see, even after she returns to work, she sometimes feels trapped and needs to get away from her family, not just the kids, but Phil too.
I may have mentioned to Frank that Phil might be available that week. The only thing better than a kid-free week is a couple of days carved out just for Mama.
This is very real-life realistic, but it's still a fairly unusual portrayal of on-screen motherhood. Claire doesn't enjoy the mundane everyday tasks of motherhood in the way that many TV housewives are shown to. She finds many aspects of the housewife role thankless and genuinely stressful.
I know that from the outside, it seems like I have everything together.
No, not really.
My point is that my life can be very stressful.
And because she's so type A, she often exercises control in these areas, arranging the kids' activities in an intense, near business-like manner. In the episode Good Cop, Bad Dog, Claire and Phil attempt to swap roles in an effort to give her an opportunity to be the fun parent. But the way that Claire's mind works turns having fun into a challenge, which she thinks she can systematize.
Who wants a milkshake? Milkshake, milkshake, 3 milkshakes.
I didn't really want a milkshake.
The way she handles things makes it seem to her family like she's really high-strung, which she probably is, but that's in part because she's in a role that doesn't fit her, and she's trying to find satisfaction by replicating business at home. However, these aspects of Claire's personality aren't necessarily negative. By bringing her perfectionist streak into ordinary everyday family affairs, she elevates them to her standard, and her shrewdness often serves them really well.
If you don't want people to come to you to solve their problems all the time, maybe don't be so good at it.
For example, even though Phil is supposed to be the emotionally intelligent spouse, it's Claire who susses out that Haley has lost her virginity and supports her through staying safe while keeping her secret. When Phil finds out, he has an overly emotional reaction, but Claire remains level-headed and trusting of Haley, which is a great parenting approach.
We can't treat Haley differently just because we both know what we know about her.
The show is unusually uncritical of Claire's tendencies towards traditionally masculine parenting and relationship interactions. This is in part because of the mockumentary setup, which doesn't allow for much analysis in the way that other shows do. However, Phil's softness and Claire's hardness are consistently highlighted in a way that often feels skewed in a favorable light towards Phil.
My perfect romantic husband who is far too good for this cold-hearted, bloodless wife bot.
In a way, this mirrors how in real life, many men who are more involved in family life or homemaking are widely worshipped for doing anything more than the bare minimum of what's expected. In a 2010 article about the post-recession shift towards men taking on more childcare while their wives worked, Tara Parker Pope, the author of For Better, The Science of a Good Marriage, quoted one house husband saying, "We have a social expectation that men simply won't be able to take care of their kids or meet their kids' emotional needs. But this is patently untrue." And it's interesting that the modern family writers implicitly position Phil's sweetness of character as only possible because Claire has an apparent deficit of this. Claire has given up a lot for her family, and she is often positioned as negative and almost overly realistic in the face of Phil's dreams. On multiple occasions throughout the series, we see that she shuts down some of his more outlandish ideas.
For the record, I don't squash all of Phil's dreams, just the ones that are, potentially fatal.
But if we look at these things from her perspective, we can see that this is a form of preservation.
Phil, I'm so sorry, but your business was just taking off and the kids were
I don't want to hear it. My own wife is the reason I don't have a career in magic.
Phil's character also highlights the way that men often enjoy domestic roles more because it's not something they feel expected to do. When Claire returns to work, he implies that she's had an easy time of it, staying home and looking after the house and kids.
After a 20-year vacation, Claire is rejoining the workforce.
Not a vacation. This is a great illustration of how child rearing can be really fun when it's not your sole responsibility, or when it's something you feel you're choosing rather than it being externally imposed. Phil is able to be the fun, playful parent because his interactions with his kids are seen as a bonus. Meanwhile, Claire has always had to be bad cop because the admin side of parenting, which includes punishing the kids, falls to her as the main caregiver.
I don't like being you.
Oh, nobody does.
As Modern Family progresses and Claire goes back to work, we begin to see a new side of her. Being more powerful in the world means she's actually vulnerable in a way we rarely see early on, with the exception of her town council run.
Why are you not running for office?
Because I don't want to lose!
In that instance, we see how damaging the combination of perfectionism, ambition, and stay-at-home motherhood has been to Claire's self-esteem. She no longer thinks she can achieve what she wants to.
I haven't done anything outside of my house in 18 years. I don't want the first thing I do to be a complete failure.
As she eases herself back into the workforce, she has to remind herself, and also Jay, her new boss, of the value of her experiences.
Dad, you seem to forget that I raised 3 children, and I had a career before this.
In later seasons, as she gets back into the flow of her career, we get a utopian snapshot of what a family looks like when everyone is playing to their strengths. Claire is comfortable bringing home money, while Phil is comfortable letting her do that, taking more of a pastoral role at home. And in response to feeling more fulfilled, Claire also becomes better at the big gestures that Phil loves. We see throughout the series that Phil's love language is basically giant PDAs. He likes to spoil Claire and he wishes she'd spoil him back. But at first, she has real trouble replicating that, because it doesn't come naturally to her.
You never want anything.
Things I want. Robot dog, night vision goggles, bug vacuum, GPS watch, speakers that look like rocks. I love my wife, but she sucks at giving gifts.
As the series goes on and she begins to be more fulfilled outside of the home, her domineering nature also seems to lessen somewhat around her family. But interestingly, she takes on even more traditionally masculine traits at this point too, and that includes in gift giving. After replacing Phil as the breadwinner when she has a large disposable income of her own, Claire is able to indulge him with the lavish gestures and spontaneity he desires. This aligns her not just with Jay.
Jay's very spontaneous. He's always surprising me with little presents, fun getaways.
But also with many men from TV who show their affection through expensive gifts. Claire isn't a traditional romantic.
You told Phil to take back your engagement ring and buy you a washer dryer.
And it takes her a while to work out how to show Phil she loves him. It turns out for Claire, buying Phil extremely expensive gifts, such as a magic shop, is her way of making up for what are framed as her former transgressions.
Our kids are grown. I run a company. You've got a great day job. I thought maybe it was time you picked up an old hobby.
Are those
Keys to your new magic shop.
Meanwhile, what Phil picks up on, and this is something many men who buy expensive gifts are also guilty of, is that this still keeps Claire in control.
It's kind of funny that you're making up for making a decision that should have been mine by making another decision for me.
This shift in the family power dynamic doesn't mean that Claire simply adopts all masculine traits or Phil all feminine ones. It can be difficult to undo years of learned gendered behaviors. As sociologist Andrea Doucette says, you can't just reverse the genders. What Claire and Phil do show us, however, is that focusing on these traditional roles can be reductive because people's personalities don't necessarily fit with the roles we ascribe to them. Actually, Phil and Claire become closer by meeting one another in the middle. Earlier in the show's run, Claire hides how hard she finds her life, while Phil is happy-go-lucky. But towards the end, they are both more comfortable with admitting what's going on and communicating about how they can help each other get through it.
Remember how terrified I was when I took over from my dad, and suddenly you were there. You just put your arms around me, and it made me realize I'm not going through this alone.
Now that she has appropriate space and time to flex her business muscles, Claire is also more able to see the magic in her husband's weird ideas.
We need to just face certain facts like corporate people are not creative, and ducks that haven't hatched in a month might never. Oh my God, Phil, I think it's hatching.
Likewise, Phil is more prepared to take on some of the less fun aspects of parenting. In Claire Dunphy, we get a rare, genuine portrayal of modern motherhood, a fallible woman who initially has sacrificed a career to raise her children, but isn't necessarily comfortable with her choice, and who shows us that as a parent, fulfillment comes in many different shapes and sizes. When we look at her closely, we can see that Claire really suits the provider role rather than the nurturer. She takes after her father, and in that respect, emulates many of the traits traditionally prized in a dad, but that doesn't stop her from being a great mom.
Someone will ask you to dance.
But what if they don't?
Honey, if they don't, then you do the exact same thing I told your sister, okay? Take 3 deep breaths and relax.
She approaches her relationships with her kids from a refreshingly logical and analytical perspective. Her type A personality doesn't hold her back from loving or recognizing what's wonderful about her family, even when they fail to meet her exacting standards. And they love her precisely because of that unique mix of qualities that is Claire.
That's The Take. Click here to watch a video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.